It's been a good 2 decades since I played through the original Stronghold Crusaders back in the early 2000s, alongside some equally great titles like Age of Empires. So when I heard that Stronghold Crusaders was getting another re-release as a definitive edition set apart from the HD edition, complete with new units, new lords, and new campaigns, I started to get a bit giddy. I could already see my 60 archers stacked in a single lookout tower, lumberjack huts blocking the gates, and of course, the horseback riders, something that only really makes sense to those who have exploited the hell out of the original game's poorly designed AI and elements that made it so fun to play through. Regardless of all of the exploits, the series has always been fantastic for anybody who loves a charming RTS that offers low-effort gameplay. Now, just because I am a huge fan does not mean I'm going to roll over and praise a game that clearly has flaws when it comes to a modern RTS. I want to start out by saying that I love Stronghold, always have, always will. And if you are new to the series, this was a game all about campaigns that weren't necessarily difficult, just time-consuming. Compared to something like Age of Empires and its more advanced AI, Stronghold has always been on the easier side of things. And for the returning players, let's be honest with ourselves. There isn't any challenge here unless you don't know the AI's playstyle. If you know how to play, then you already know how terrible the AI still is, with simple strategies that have them running around in circles, doing absolutely nothing. So let's talk about those issues. I'm going to spare you the details about the rat, the snake, the pig, the wolf, the Saladin, the Caliph, the Sultan, and the Lionheart. Since this is the definitive edition, we're going to focus on the new lords and how they're frankly absolute jokes. I'd even go as far as to say that they are worse than the originals. I have never been interested in the PvP aspect of this series, and when I did, it was during LAN parties, so our experience is entirely based off of the skirmish trials, Sands of Time, and other such game modes. Even if I do want to play online, it's never worked, not now or even before. There are so many workarounds and additional applications needed to be downloaded to ever make it work. Unlike the base game, these new campaigns have a timer. This timer is set up to reward players for beating a stage as quickly as possible, while giving you a massive resource siphon. The catch here is that it also makes it nearly impossible to survive the first 5 minutes when you're going up against 7 lords at once, each with double or even triple the starting economy that you have. They will send a constant wave of over 100 units towards your base depending on who you are facing, whether it's the Nomad with its low-cost Zerg units, or others with the horseback riders, crossbowmen, or the downright tedious camelback warriors, which are absolute tanks. And don't get me started on how terrible the AI is for your characters, since there is no way to physically enable priorities or specific units and their main targets. It often comes down to having a large enough army that units can't just slip on by without aggroing anybody. No matter how you look at it, the design of these new lords is mediocre. I was genuinely hoping for something that felt more fleshed out, polished, and balanced. You know, intelligent AI that responds accordingly with pinpoint specific units instead of ignoring everything completely and going directly for the main economy sources or your own lord from the very beginning. Here's an example with the base game's Extreme Trials, where the goal is to destroy the enemy spawn encampments while being given a list of commands over time. It's also very linear and front-loaded for each and every mission. I've already seen a ton of people complaining about the Nomad's endless unit spam, but that's his entire gimmick. That's the point. I feel like these people should be thankful that these lords don't also get these encampment spawns pouring out an extra 100 units every 5 minutes from all sides. If you're not setting up 60 archers in a single lookout tower with no other walls, backing them with a few of the new healers and surrounding the base with 8 to 10 ballistas and a wall of knights all before the game even really starts, then you're out of luck, because you're only getting 2,000 gold and you're expected to hold the line. Learn how to manage your economy. If you don't know the strategies, you're barking up the wrong tree. This is not a dynamic strategy game that adapts to you. It is a scripted wave defense that wastes your time with AI that are pathetic. But it's still kind of fun when you look down on your growing kingdom while being mocked by the narrator for being the 8th greatest lord for the next 2 hours.
You are the 8th greatest lord.
Every new lord, while supposedly being different, all play the same. They will rush you until their economy is gone, and then it is your turn to push them back out and take them one by one. If you want to win a stage like this in 30 minutes, by all means, be my guest, but you're not getting anything out of it outside of a single Steam achievement. That's the loop. Every new campaign plays the same way. If you beat the stage quickly, you're given a fancy title like the Prince of Sands, Champion, or Warrior. You're on a timer after all, so you're not supposed to waste time. I can't quite say that I was all that interested in this new system because it's frankly boring. One thing I want to mention is the chicken mechanic. In the original game, you had 3 chickens. You could use one to skip a stage if it was too difficult or just plain boring, while also being mocked in the process by the narrator for being too cowardly. That was it. You had to be smart about when you used them because once they were gone unless you earned them back by going back and beating the skipped missions later. That system meant something. It had you thinking about when and where to use it while earning your place among the best lords. I have no idea why they decided to remove that limitation. Now you can just freely chicken skip stages without any real penalty. It feels like it completely defeats the purpose. The chicken mechanic used to be a balanced way to let you bypass roadblocks without breaking the flow of the campaign. It encouraged you to come back stronger. Now it's just a way to bypass challenge entirely, which feels lazy when you consider that in the original, most of us were not cheesing the AI with all of the exploits that are still in the definitive edition because we were playing the game seriously. Though they have patched the lumberjack hut exploit, they don't seem to have done anything else with any of the other features. A few modifications here and there, like the markets no longer costing 5 wood and minor changes like that, but for the most part it is Stronghold Crusaders in its entirety. If you're not exploiting the game's many perks, you are bound to have a frustrating time going up against the odds these new campaigns will throw at you. You would think that after 20 years the fundamental flaws would be addressed. The AI should be smarter, it should be challenged, but it's not. If you play through the entire campaign and then go back to the extreme trials against the Lionheart and the Saladin, you'll see just how much more difficult but still linear the gameplay feels, because being swarmed is exhausting. That is the style this game offers in a one and done formation. So take out the encampments. That is your goal, and once you're done, that's it. You've won the game. While I do love that the developers kept 95% of the game intact, aside from the updated visuals and a new narrator who honestly sounds bored out of his mind compared to the original, there's a point where it becomes too community focused and it starts to hold the game back. PvP does not work. PvE is repetitive. The AI is stupid. Nothing feels like a real challenge, and every single new map feels like it was developed and designed by somebody that doesn't get the point of what made Stronghold so great. Every single map feels the same. Cool, we have 2,000 gold. No food nearby. No stone, but oh look, we have a bountiful source of iron and a simple way to funnel the enemy AI, so I guess that's our strong economy source of selling. Everything just ends up being the same. Defend your castle, hold back the initial assault, build up your economy, push, defeat. That's it. And yet we still enjoy playing it because the nostalgia drives us and it's still oddly satisfying. The foundation of what makes Stronghold great is here, but without a real rebalance of the units like the horseback archers, my beloved, or any meaningful redesign of the core systems and new maps, it ends up feeling like a waste of your time if you're exclusively going in for the PvE elements while PvP still remains unplayable. This is the easiest way to describe the game.
Greetings, sire. The desert awaits you.
Moving off! We are on our way!
Wood needed.
No granary built.
The narration is what sells the experience. The squire, the civilians, the units, no matter what you clicked on and no matter what you did, the same voice actor would chime in, sounding like something straight out of a Monty Python sketch. It was charming, it was goofy, and it was genuinely fun to hear each and every time. This voice acting gave Stronghold its identity. It made the game feel alive, like you truly were a lord within the game, even when the gameplay was rough around the edges. Personally, I don't think the updated graphics really matter that much, as I never played the originals for the visuals in the first place. It was simply a great game that I could waste my time on and pass the day. Compared to the HD version, I don't know. I just feel like the charm of the visuals is gone. It's hard to explain if you didn't grow up with them. Presentation-wise, not much seems to have changed besides a performance bump. Not that it matters back then with our PCs barely pushing 10 frames per second, let alone 60 frames. I don't tend to pay too much attention to each NPC. I focus on the endgame, destroying the enemy lords as fast as possible in any way possible. I just don't feel like it makes much of a difference in comparison to the game 20 years ago and the game now. I like the original more, but it's still nice of them to remaster the game. Looking at the whole game, not just the new campaigns, you've got custom battles, historical missions based on real-life events from the first, second, and third Crusades, and a ton of skirmish content. That includes the trials and the so-called extreme trials, which are again not that difficult. Most of the time you're up against one or more of the default lords who start with more gold than you, but thanks to the same bugs, exploits, and issues that have been around for forever, there's nothing to worry about. And hey, at least there are no timers like in the 4 Sand of Time campaign, so even if the challenge is minimal or challenging, I'd rather run these missions because I know what to expect and they let me play my way without being rushed, so I can mess around as much as I would love to. If you're new to the game and you do plan on taking on every skirmish, trial, or every new campaign seriously without abusing the meta or pathing, you can easily clock over 50 to 100 hours. It's still a great game, managing your economy, your resources, your keybinds, which are completely revamped to feel so much more better. Probably the best thing about this remaster, to be honest, with so many of us getting used to more modern controls, or just taking your time with it all and in your own way. Realistically, I've done this thousands of times. Doing it again doesn't feel much different from what I was doing 20 years ago, but oddly enough, it's still fun to play through. I'm a big fan of the series, from Stronghold, Stronghold 2, Stronghold Crusaders, HD, Definitive Edition, you name it, I've played it. So that brings me to the question, would I recommend this game to anybody new or returning? It really comes down to what you're looking for and what you personally value, because you are paying double the price of the HD version, which is the exact same game with different controls and all of the bugs still intact, and of course the non-functional PvP, which again is non-functional here. So again, you're paying for a few timed campaigns that follow the same formula, rushed by multiple lords on some of the most generically designed, downright boring maps that serve absolutely no challenge whatsoever to those who know what to do. If you're bored out of your mind, have a few hours to kill, and want something light to mess around with, then by all means. If you're into missions that aren't difficult, but are still entertaining thanks to the voice acting, narration, and the sheer meme-worthy charm of it all, then this is still one of the best RTS games that does not take itself too seriously. It's not going to demand 1,000 hours to master, nor 100 hours, and that's part of the appeal, because it's easy to jump into, blow a few hours, and then hop off. But if you're looking for deep strategy, dynamic encounters, or smart reactive AI, you will not find that here. Stronghold has always been more about the fun than the finesse. It's about cheesing the AI, setting up ridiculous defenses, and maybe, just maybe, fighting another fellow enjoyer in PvP if that game mode ever actually works. At the end of the day, it's nostalgia fueled, and sometimes that's just enough.